Trackhouse announces Connor Zilisch's crew chief for 2026. Is Team Penske going to be untouchable at Phoenix? And NBC has removed themselves from NASCAR's championship format decision-making. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. One of the things I love most about racing is the history, whether it be on-track activity, racetracks, anything. I love the history of racing, just motorsports in general. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is steeped in history. We all know that. This week, crews are working over in the Turn 2 area of the racetrack to address some of the bumps that have developed there over the last few years. And in the process, they've removed some of the asphalt and they've uncovered the bricks that have been covered up since 1937 in that area of the racetrack. And for the first time since then, they're seeing daylight. They're getting some fresh air before they eventually do get covered back up again. But it is very cool to see those bricks still existing right there underneath the surface, preserved, just left in time as they sit. Obviously, the entire 2.5 mile circuit used to just be brick. That's why it's called the Brickyard. And so to see them is still pretty cool. Well, to go even further than that, as Doug Bull showed off, track president, IndyCar president as well, a little bit underneath those bricks is the original surface from 1909, a stone and tar, sort of conglomeration there. Doesn't look like the smoothest racing surface in the world, but still the original racing surface of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, over 116 years old now. Just crazy to think about how much stuff has happened on that racing surface and in that time period. As a person that loves history, person that loves old things, there's a reason I bought a historic home. It's just cool to see things like that. So let's get into what we want to talk about today. And we're going to start off first with Trackhouse. On Tuesday, they announced Connor Zilisch's crew chief for 2026, and it is going to be Randall Burnett, which I'm sure most of you probably already knew at this point. He will leave Richard Childress Racing at the end of the year. He will finish out the season with Kyle Busch, and he will move over to Connor Zilisch next season. In 208 races, as it currently stands, with RCR, he has 6 wins, 33 top 5, 75 top 10s, and 3 playoff appearances in that time period. Pretty stout resume. But, of course, the fan bases are kind of split on both sides of this. Kyle Busch fans are excited. They think that the crew chief's the problem. The crew chief's the reason why they're not winning over there. I would say it's probably more of an RCR issue. Definitely more of an RCR issue than a crew chief issue. But, hey, they're going to get a new crew chief. Well, who's that going to be? Not going to be Rodney Childers. I think they're probably going to promote from within over there. On the other side of things, you have all the Connor Zilisch fans. They're upset about this. They're furious that Randall Burnett is going to be his crew chief. They think he's washed up. They don't think he's any good. And that is a small brain thought. Listen, sometimes crew chiefs perform better when they, have a change of scenery. Same thing with drivers. Obviously, Randall Burnett is in a tough spot over at RCR. Limited resources, just kind of restricted by who they are and what they are. Trackhouse does have a little bit better funding, a little bit better what they receive, facilities and everything like that than what they have over at RCR. So there's a chance that he could perform better over at Trackhouse. Now, let's think about this. Chris Gale could not win with Ty Gibbs when he was his crew chief. He goes over to Denny Hamlin, and he's won 5 races this year, and he's got Denny Hamlin potentially knocking on another showing in the Final 4. You look at a guy like Rodney Childers. Nobody thought Rodney Childers was going to be this dominant force in NASCAR, and then he takes over as crew chief for Kevin Harvick and goes on a really insane run. So listen, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be good. It doesn't mean he's going to be bad. It means that you should give him an opportunity here to prove whether or not he can get it done. He went to victory lane 3 times with Tyler Reddick, 3 times with Kyle Busch. He's very good at setting up a car. He's very good at handling driver feedback. Randall Burnett is a really good crew chief, and making that jump over to Connor Zilisch is an absolute no-brainer. There are a number of crew chiefs in the Cup garage that would absolutely have made that jump to work with a guy like Connor Zilisch, who at this point seemingly has all the talent in the world and will likely have pretty good success next year as well. And hey, listen, then don't forget, Randall Burnett took Tyler Reddick to victory lane twice on road courses as well. Indianapolis road course as well as Road America. Yeah, we don't race there anymore, but he's not a stranger to winning on road courses in the Gen 7 era. So I'm excited to see what he can do over at Trackhouse next year with Connor Zilisch. Sunday may have confirmed everyone's biggest fears. Team Penske still incredibly fast on flat tracks, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still good at football. So does that mean that Penske is going to be untouchable when we get to Phoenix for that championship race? I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because the Rapture is going to happen, so we might not even make it there. Actually, I just realized that this isn't going to be on YouTube. If you're not on TikTok, you're probably wondering what is happening. Some of the ultra-religious people think that the rapture is going to happen on the 23rd, maybe the 24th. Not really a set time period for that. I don't think raptures come scheduled like they're on a TV guide, but regardless, people think the rapture is going to happen. Team Penske, though, combined to lead 273 of the 301 laps on Sunday and basically left every other team on pit road staring off into space like they were Kendall Roy in succession, just searching for any sort of answer out there, collectively wondering, how are we going to beat these guys? Putting fresh tires on Josh Berry at the end of the race probably would have helped, but hey, even that's a de facto Penske car because it comes out of the Penske shop. Joe Gibbs Racing competition director Chris Gabehart basically summed up everybody's thoughts after the race, and he was one of those guys feeling dejected when he said, quote, "The biggest thing to take away from today is that with this aero package and with the same tire as Phoenix, the Penske cars are completely untouchable again." So if you're a Ryan Blaney fan, you're not going to have to worry about throwing the toaster into the bathtub at Phoenix, or at least going into Phoenix, because more likely than not, you're going to be sitting in a good position. Joey Logano, once again, continues to be the Michael Myers of NASCAR. He literally is not gone. We need to go get Jamie Lee Curtis. That's the only way we're going to be able to beat this guy at this point. And if he survives this current round, if he survives Kansas, survives the Roval, makes it to the round of 8, that shapes up super well for him because it's got Las Vegas in it. Hey, guess what? He won there last year. It's got Talladega in it, incredibly good super speedway racer. And then it's got Martinsville in it, which I think, are we just going to go ahead and chalk that up for Ryan Blaney winning that for a third year in a row to send himself to Phoenix once again? Because I don't know if anybody's going to be able to touch them at this point. So as things currently stand, yeah, they are seemingly untouchable on flat tracks. I saw people wondering, oh, why weren't they this good at Gateway? They were good at Gateway last year. And you're correct. They were very good at Gateway last year. Some things worked in their favor to Gateway, but Gateway does not use the short track package like Loudon does, like Phoenix is going to do as well. So we'll have to see how that's going to play out. Or we have seen how that's going to play out. We'll have to see if it continues on at Phoenix as well. But there's 5 races until we get to Phoenix, and every single team in the garage area that thinks that they have a chance of making it to Phoenix is absolutely going to be working on sim setups, on CFD, on literally anything to try to figure out what Penske has done to make their cars so good at these flat tracks. How are they this fast? Where are they finding that mechanical grip at? I mean, that lap that Logano laid down in qualifying on Saturday had everybody sitting around going, damn, all right, how are we going to beat this? Because at this point, nobody's got anything for them. The Hendrick cars made great gains. Guess what? Still weren't close enough, though. They were the best of the rest, essentially, with William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. And then you've got the Penske cars, who are just kind of in a league of their own right now. One key partner will not be influencing NASCAR's potential championship format changes. According to Jeff Gluck on the Teardown this week, NBC has removed themselves from the playoff committee, removed themselves from the decision-making process, and told NASCAR to do what they think is best for the sport in regards to making any sort of changes to the way NASCAR determines a champion. Now, that's a good thing. I think we all can agree that that's probably a good thing. There's been a lot of disdain amongst the fans for the amount of power and persuasion and sway that TV networks have in NASCAR's decision-making process. And for the most part here, Jeff Burton said on DBC when he was on there last week that NBC wasn't a part of these discussions. Everybody was like, yeah, okay, bud, let's not get crazy here. I think everybody kind of assumes that, NBC is helping drive this push for the playoffs here. Now NBC is like, hey, hands off of it. And they kind of said this back in the summertime too, but nobody believed them at that point. And now it appears that it is very much in NASCAR's hands here. Whether or not NASCAR makes any changes to that championship format remains up in the air. And we're not going to know until January, because historically that's when they make announcements for any sort of major changes to either the championship format or sort of race format, as we saw in 2017 with the stages. But Gluck did say that there is more momentum now for a 36 race championship than there was at the beginning of the season. Apparently some people have been swayed. They've had their minds changed, but don't get your hopes up for it by any means. It's in all likelihood going to be the format that has been floated, the 3-3-4, 3 races, 4 race championship round. Now, will they expand it from the championship 4 to the championship 6, as we've heard in rumors as well? Remains up in the air, but I would not expect them to go to a 36 race championship. I would not expect them to go to a 10 race chase, which I think is probably the ultimate compromise there if you do need to do a points reset. Yeah, it's tough. Ultimately, I would love to see a 36 race championship with more emphasis put on winning. So you get like 20 extra points for winning a race, and then everybody else gets like basically, let's just say this. You get 62 points for winning a race, and then second place gets 42. Do it something like that, and then sort of work your way down the list there, 40, however many cars you want to, sort of set the field off of. But I think that would be the best way to do it, because that gives you emphasis for winning races, and it's not just like 5 extra points or 7 extra points or something like that. Even though I don't ever agree with the whole like, oh, drivers are just riding, they're not going to actually try to win, they just want to have a good points day. There's some people that will have a good points day, but if you're in contention to win, you're going to try to win a race. These guys all want to win races. So obviously the network letting NASCAR make the decision is good. Obviously TV wants drama, right? That's what television wants. That's why they're paying $1 billion a year for the rights to this. They want something intriguing to watch. They want something that is going to draw viewers in. And does a 36 race championship do that? It's debatable, but has the playoff done that? Not in the championship race by any means. The playoffs have given us some okay moments. We've gotten some walk-off wins and rounds before, but that championship race has never really given us that Game 7 moment, that insane moment where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, other than maybe like 2016 on that unnecessary caution when Carl Edwards gets hooked into the wall and then Jimmy Johnson goes on to win his 7th. That might be the only one where you're like, all right, something crazy did kind of happen there. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens now. I know some people like the playoffs. I know some people like the elimination format. I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of weight into the callers of SiriusXM NASCAR like the other guy from The Athletic did when he had that smug look on his face when Gluck told him that some people do like it and called in. I wouldn't say that the overwhelming majority of people like the elimination style format, at least not in its current form. I think they could be swayed if, it was sort of altered a little bit. Ultimately, what the championship format needs to be is it needs to be made more simple. It needs to be slimmed down. It needs to be less bulky than it is. And we got to do something about sort of how the point structure works and everything else that goes into it. So hopefully NASCAR makes some decisions, streamlines this format a little bit, and we can all learn about it in January when we get there. So let me know in the comments what you think about Randall Burnett joining Trackhouse. Do you think Team Penske is going to be unbeatable at Phoenix? And are you happy that NBC has backed out of the NASCAR championship format discussion and then leaving it up to NASCAR to make? So like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.